insightful session on Solid Waste Management Rule 2026 Compliance Roadmap from April 1, 2026. It is our privilege to have our expert, Dr. Venkatesh sir, who is legal expert in EHS compliances at Aparajitha, a distinguished professional with over 23 years of experience of global across law, academia, and industry. In today's session, he will take us through the regulatory changes, compliance obligation, and practical approach to help organization navigate the new rules effectively with strengthening sustainability and compliance readiness. Before starting the session, I would request everyone to post your questions in the Q&A session so that after the session is over, we can take the questions one by one. So now I will ask Dr. Venkatesh sir to enlighten us.
Thank you, Shreya. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me share my screen. Hope everybody can see my screen.
Yes, sir. If you could just hide that button. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, is this okay?
Yes, sir. Perfect.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for attending this webinar. This is part of our environmental health safety laws webinar series. As Shreya mentioned, I take care of EHS laws in Aparajitha, and today's session is going to be on the new rules, solid waste management rules. And as most of you are aware, it has come into force this 1st April. Okay. This is the outline of the presentation. It has about 30 slides, including the title and the thank you slide. Okay, so and what we will do is we'll start with the need just to set the context, and then have a recap of the Environmental Protection Act framework, followed by the historical snapshot of how the solid waste management rules evolved. Then a slight trivia comparing the two rules. Followed by an eye-level snapshot of what is there in the new rules and the changes which the new rules have introduced. Then we will show some eye-level numbers, some just one slide on numbers, what kind of numbers we are seeing. And finally, the key part of the presentation will be the definitions and select obligations and compliances. So this is going to be the outline of the today's webinar. And like Shreya said, please feel free to type in your questions in the chat box. We will take it up at the end Q&A session. Okay. So with that, I will just go to the first, the need. Why do we need this webinar? As you all know, in the last a week of January 2026, the new rule came into force, and this superseded the decade-old 2016 solid waste management rules. And there are some key changes, practical compliance changes, which necessitated us to dive deep into this new rule and what kind of changes to expect and what kind of regulatory framework has evolved. So that is the need for this webinar. Okay. So with that, we will just have a quick recap overview of the Environmental Protection Act and the regulatory framework or the scheme under this act. This is a very unique act in Indian context because if you look at the act, the compliance which the act mandates. Actually, there are only three compliances it tells, and this is all very generic compliance that the discharge of pollutants, all those things should be under the specified level. And if you're handling hazardous waste, you should have follow the procedure. And then you have to intimate accidents and incidents. These are the only three compliances the act mandates. But where do we get all the regulatory compliances? They come from host of the various And the beauty of this scheme is that instead of the act specifying the compliance requirement mandates, it gives power to the government, the authority, agencies to come up with various rules and procedures and the compliance requirement for the various subject matter. If you look at this slide, we have various waste, starting from plastic waste, biomedical waste, matter. Each waste or each subject matter has its own unique features and requirements and characteristics and the compliance requirement. So these are ones which were framed under the Act, the Act, the various sections like Section 3, 6, and 25, they give the power to the government, to the authority to frame the rules. And the government has framed all these rules. And one beauty is, even though we look like so many different rules are there, each of these rules are unique and they are exclusive. So what is a plastic waste? You won't find that in a biomedical waste, even though biomedical waste may involve some plastics. And what is a solid waste? It will exclude all other waste. Each rule defines its waste. Like plastic waste management rule defines what a plastic waste. So only those waste are governed by that rule. Similarly, coming to our topic of solid waste, the solid waste is defined in that rule, solid waste management. So this is a very key and difference between, let's say, you take the, let's say, Factories Act, or you take FSSA, or you take R Act. The compliances derive from the Act, But here it is a very different scheme. So if you look at the Environment Protection Act, it's a very small act. It's only 15 pages, I believe. That's all. So this is important to remember when we deal with these different waste. Okay. So with this overview, let's go into the evolution, the historical evolution of solid waste management. So originally in 2000, the municipal solid waste management handling rules was notified. That was the first time ever we had a national framework for collection, treatment, segregation, management. Everything is done by the local body. So as individuals and as part of the corporate governance, we are very familiar these days that there are agencies directly undertaken by the local bodies or concessionaires outsourced. They take care of the solid waste. So that all emanated from 2000, the first rules. Then with time and with like any other field, the dynamics, the evolution and development of the various technology, the lifestyle changes, everything, it necessitated the specific changes, and not just at the level of the companies or the urban local bodies, at the level of individual sources of waste generation. That's where this 2016 rule came into picture, which introduced the mandatory three-stream source segregation, which you guys would have been very familiar. We have different buckets and bins. So that's the first big game changer, and it has been 10 years since then. And there are some loose ends, especially the definitions of bulk waste, generators, and with the experience of past 20 years of dealing with the solid waste management and the expansion of both the lifestyle as well as the industry, and the proliferation of the solid waste, it necessitated a revamp of this. That's where we are this. So originally it was floated in 2024, I believe, the draft rules came. And this is not just, as a side, this is not just with the solid waste management. If you have looked at the other waste management also, every 10 years you see new changes. So this is going to be the case, what we can expect with all the other rules as well. So today's is restricted to solid waste management. Okay. And this came into force 1st April, and it was notified in last week of January this year. Okay. Just very, very high level comparison between the two rules. So you see the big changes. The rule 2026, they have expanded the scope. They have expanded the entire waste management, and it include the entire life cycle from the source to the final disposal. It has covered all the stages of it. It included and it specified the duties, functions, and in very detailed manner of all the different layers of government, starting from the central ministry, the state ministry, even the local panchayat level. The duties are prescribed, the local bodies, because they have the primary responsibility of collecting, segregating, disposal of these solid waste. So it's pretty detailed. And as far as the compliance also, we see that it has all it's more than doubled, numerically. And this included the various players, not just the individuals, the companies. It includes specific players like sorting facility, collecting facility, reprocessing facility. So they have introduced specific compliances for these specific entities as well. So out of this 54 compliance tasks, just thumb rule, probably 10 to 15, 18 may be applicable across the board. And there were other specific ones. Let's say if you are dealing with recycling of solid waste, then you may have set a few rules, which may not be there for other players. Okay. And a big change, a huge change, which will be of very important to note from the board perspective is this polluter based principle environmental compensation for violations. This is expressly provided under rule 17. So far we don't have any equivalent of this in rules. Generally, when it goes to the court, litigation, this environmental compensation is imposed by the courts using the various principles of sustainable development, and polluter-based principle is one of the key principles of sustainable development. Okay. And this evolved in late 90s when there are a lot of litigations against environmental degradation, the compensation, and that goes into huge. It's not like small numbers. The court can and did put huge compensation because the key principle is the person who is polluting, the entity which is polluting, has to pay for it. That's what it is. It was first time very detailedly elaborated by the Honorable Supreme Court in the famous case law of Indian Enviro Council litigation 1996, and it was established, used in the famous Vellore Citizen Welfare Association versus Union of India, the Tanneries case. So this principle has found its way in the rule itself. Apart from fine, this is not the fine, fine is something else, which is we are familiar with. This is a principle based environmental compensation. Okay. And the rule has given power to the authority. So it's not that there is going to be a litigation and only then we may see the end of the day, but not the case here. The authority is empowered to levy this, the word levy is used, levy this environmental compensation on the for violation of provisions of this rule. So this is going to be a key, enforcement power which this new rule has given the authority. Okay. This is just an high level snapshot of what is there. This is just a pictorial just to get things warmed up for the presentation. So the key thing is the 4-stream waste segregation. Earlier, there were only 3 streams. Now we have 4 streams. Wet waste, dry waste, sanitary waste, and special care waste. Okay. All these wastes are defined. What are they? They are defined in the rule. Some examples are given in this. So this is a big change, So we should be having 4 bins, basically, to put it very simply, as far as the implementation of this rule is concerned in our organization, even in our homes. we should have this four stream segregation. And the rule provides for this expressly. It's not implied or it's not an interpretation issue. The rule mandates this, and it says segregation, collection, storage, all those things. Okay, that's a big thing. And the bulk waste generator is precisely kind of numerically defined. Some three definitions is shown here. It's a pretty big definition. We will see down the line. It says if you have certain area, sorry, more than 20,000 square meter, or if you are using more than 40,000 liters per day of water, or you are producing 100 kgs of waste per day. These, if you cross any of these threshold, you will be called a bulk waste generator. And the bulk waste generator, it has additional compliance requirement. Okay, so which the rule specifies. And another two big thing, practically speaking, one is it's gone digital. So there is going to be a centralized portal, and there are already different states like Maharashtra and all. They have their I don't know, state pollution control board portal. They have a separate portal for solid waste management. It's going to be everything done centrally. Okay. And the key tagline is given in the bottom, segregate the four stream, process it, and you have to pay responsibility. Okay. With this, we'll just see what are the different areas where the changes have happened in these 2026. The first one we have just seen, the waste segregation, the four streams. It's a big change. Next big change is waste generators, who is a waste generator, it defines, and who is a bulk waste generator, that is also defined. Then extended waste generator responsibility is provided under the act, so most of you have been familiar with this extended producer responsibility in plastic waste management and all. It's along a similar line conceptually speaking. And big change is this imposition levy of environmental compensation based on the polluter pays principle. Okay, that's one. Then, as far as the compliance coverage is concerned, like I indicated in the start, it has gone the widest scope. It covered various entire spectrum of players and activities, starting from bulk generators to all the way to landfill operators. Okay. So another is monitoring. So it's going digital. There is a central portal, and digitized returns are being introduced. Okay, the details are yet to emerge. Okay. And as far as the reporting is concerned, they have shifted from annual reporting to quarterly and even monthly, and it's based on the activity as well. So earlier it was annual returns and records, and now they are going to track it more, on line with when things are getting the waste is getting generated. And big change when it comes to the landfill controls. There are a lot of things have been introduced, which most of it it is not it doesn't concern us, except if we are a concessionaire or a player who is dealing or controlling or managing landfills. If you are typically the local body themselves do, or there is a concessionaire player. Other than that, we don't have to worry about that part of the thing. So and we won't go detail into that in this presentation. Okay. If anybody is interested, we can take it offline. That's one. Then there are some new changes when it comes to the role of the industries using certain fuel, like this people who are using conventional fuel or solid based fuel. There are timelines and roadmap given. Okay, that you have to, you know, do some substitution with these refuse derived fuel, which is also derived, which is basically, combustible waste material, which can be, formed from the waste, like plastics and cardboard, paper, and things like that, which has combustible material. Okay. Okay. Then we will just look at some, we have already seen some numbers. We will see the compliance, regulatory compliance tasks in numbers. Okay. And word of caution, this is what we have derived from the rules. Okay. This is only for our compliance management perspective, and some of you who for clients of Aparajitha and using Aparajitha tool, and there are a lot of tools, we need to have trackers, and then we have to give this frequency for tracking, and also that's where this kind of categorization based on the frequency is arrived at, because when we have to do it in a application based, we need to track the compliance. Okay. So one time refers to license, permit, and things like that. On occurrence, basically, it is mostly to do with any incident or accidents. And the below the things are the periodical or ongoing one, quarterly, yearly, and monthly. Okay. And like I said earlier, I'm repeating myself. So this is the entire rules. And this covers all the players, not just a typical factory or establishment or an industry. It covers special players like recyclers, sorting facilities, landfills, those things. Okay. So this is what the numbers look like in terms of the nature of compliances. Licenses, returns, statutory communication, advisory is everything which doesn't fall under the above three categories. This is just an Aparajita nomenclature. Okay, you don't see this in elsewhere. It's only Aparajita nomenclature for our services and products. We have this. Okay. Okay. So now let's move on to the key definitions. Okay. There are about, I think, more than 62 or some terms defined in the new rules. Earlier, I think it was about 50. And so there are two, three slides we will look into detail. Rest, I will flash them because there are so many things. If anybody wants to dig deep, maybe we will take it up in the Q&A. Okay, few slides I will go in depth, and then rest I will only flash other definitions. Okay, and only key definitions I have captured here. Okay, first is solid waste. So basically, it's a pretty involved definition, and the last three lines is what it is. You have to pay attention, and what you're tied to our framework under the. So it excludes industrial waste, biomedical waste, e-waste, battery waste, radioactive waste, generator. So you see, this is the exclusion I was mentioning at the start of the environmental protection. Okay. So now let's read the entire thing. It is a very specific definition because it uses the word both means and includes. Means and includes solid or semi-solid, domestic waste, sanitary waste, commercial waste, institutional waste, catering and market waste, and other non-residential waste, street sweepings, silt removed or collected from surface drains, horticulture waste, agriculture waste, dairy waste, treated biomedical waste. Okay. So basically, if any one of us, as an individual or an organization, I'm sure we will fall into one of these categories. It's a pretty wide definition. Okay. Solid or semi-solid, it covers everything. So, as far as the applicability of this rule is concerned, you can safely assume whether you are manufacturing, computer chips, or you're manufacturing textile, or a plastic, or water bottle, or food, or whatever you are into, or you are a commercial establishment, uh, you know, and you can safely assume that you will come into this purview of this, because as you look at the definition, it's pretty wide. Okay. Hmm. Then let's come to the four stream. If you recall, the new rule as four stream of segregation, dry waste. So it says what dry waste is. Means, so it's very specific. Means waste other than wet waste, sanitary waste, special care waste, and includes recyclable waste and non-recyclable waste. So it's not a positive definition, it's a negative definition, meaning if whatever it's other than the other types of waste, it is a dry waste. Okay, so now we have to understand the other waste. So the wet waste, sanitary waste, and special care waste. Whatever waste which doesn't fall into the three category, that is called a dry waste. Okay. So the wet waste definition is more of a practical, positive definition. Okay. It is also very specific, exclusive definition. Wet waste, which is provided under Rule 3ZZL, okay, means and includes organic waste, organic. So that's first keyword, including kitchen waste, food waste, vegetable waste, meat, fruits, flour, and such similar waste and biodegradable waste. So here the key words are two things: organic, biodegradable. So if any waste which is organic, biodegradable, that forms into wet waste. Okay, it has given specific items like kitchen, food. Any organization, I'm sure, food waste would be there. Okay, and it includes flowers and fruits too. Okay, so if we are having a function, ceremony, or events, I'm sure we'll be using fruits and flowers, right? Those were wastes. That is wet waste. Special care waste. Again, very specific and exclusive definition. Means and includes discarded paint drums, pesticide cans or containers, bottles, compact fluorescent lamp or bulb, tube lights, expired medicine, broken mercury thermometers, waste batteries, used or waste needles, syringes, contaminated gauges, or any other waste notified under by the Central Pollution Control Board from time to time. So these are new category special care waste. I'm sure all of our organizations would have such waste. Only the quantum and the nature and character may change from an organization to another, but any organization would have this waste also. And the other one is sanitary waste. We do not have to go into what sanitary waste means, which is the typical, sanitary, napkins and all those wastes. So these are the four streams. Again, the rule defines a waste generator. Okay. And this is also pretty expansive and exclusive definition. Says means and includes every person. So it uses the word person. So person means juristic person, not individual human beings. Companies, factories, commercial establishment, shops, or group of persons. Every residential premises, non-residential establishments, including Indian Railways, defense establishment, which generate solid waste. So pretty much it includes everybody. You can safely say that it includes everybody. Okay. Because like we saw the definition of the solid waste, the four streams. So one or more, each of the entities and establishments, they are going to generate, and they are called waste generator. Okay. Next is it's pretty dense slide. It's a pretty big definition. Only the key parts is given in this reproduce. It's like I highlighted at the start. The bulk waste generator is specifically defined in the Act, and it covers the entities given below if they satisfy one of the following criteria. So even if one is satisfied, they will come under the definition of bulk waste. It says 20,000 square meter, the floor area or above, or the water consumption is 40,000 liters per day, water consumption. Okay. Or the quantum of solid waste generated. If it is 100 kilograms per day, if it is generating more than 100 kilograms per day, then it comes. So what are the entities? It is a pretty big definition. So if you look at this definition, it pretty much includes, you can fit in, you can find your organization being fit in somewhere else, some place or in one of the three sub rules. Okay. So it covers the government, public sector, community places, commercial users, and residential societies. And instead of going into the details of where we are in this, what we would personally advise to be on abundant caution is to look at the three criteria: the floor area, water consumption, and the quantum of amount of waste generated. If you fall into one of these things, you can safely need to presume that you are a bulk waste generator. Okay. Rather than going into the classification of industry or establishment, commercial establishment, private, public, uh, I think that would be a risky proposition. Okay, because it is pretty self-contained definition, and it is it we can't get away with it very easily, and so it's more prudent that we check the three criteria. Okay. So that's what we would reckon. So you should have a understanding of your water consumption and the waste generation. Okay. So because there is a definite set of compliances the specifically provided for the bulk waste generator and waste generator, in addition to the waste generators, because they produce more waste. Right? Okay. So with this, these next few slides, I will just flash through, and if anything, we can discuss based on your question in the Q&A session. So it defines what about biodegradable waste is, who is a brand owner, buffer zone. This is a zone from the facilities, processing disposal facility. It defines. And what is a facility? It's a common word, but still. So this is very important, because if you remember at the start, we discussed that it's based on the activity. Handling is an activity. What is handling? What is sorting? It is defined. Combustible waste. What is a combustible waste? Who is a contractor? Co-processing. This is a very unique definition, and it's very important to know this, because we have shared systems, shared places, shared processing, and we may be part of a mall, we may be part of a building, which have other establishments. So these things comes into picture. Even a word disposal is defined. I'm sorry, I'm repeating the definitions here. Dry waste we have already seen. Specifically, material recovery facility. This is also defined, and what a non-biodegradable, that is defined. Operator, who is an operator of the facility, is defined. Primary collection, processing. See, so now we are getting into the nuances here. Handling, sorting, processing, recycling. So these words we have been generally using, colloquially or loosely or differently, but specific meaning definition is attributed to these words. So this is the diffused derived fuel. So it's, like I said earlier, it's basically the combustible waste material which is derived from the solid waste. Okay. Secondary storage. This is very important. Similar to handling and processing, segregation is also defined. Okay. So with this, next we will go to what are the compliances, the uh, rule mandates. What are the So here I've not taken all the 54 compliances. Some of them are no change, some are new, and some there are changes. So the one which may be commonly of interest to the wide range of audiences, only those I have listed here, and we will go through them. Okay. So this is the last part of the webinar. So the first most important change and the compliance requirement comes from these sub rules of Rule 5.1, B, C, and I. So what is given here is not an exact reproduction of the text of the rules. Okay, this is paraphrased to cover the overall compliance spirit and the concepts and how to comply practically, what to do. Okay, so if you go and read that, you may not find the exact all the words. Okay, some words are borrowed and grouped for the presentation purpose, and some definition it will be the exact reproduction. Okay, so always we have to refer to the bare rules. Okay. With that disclaimer, let's proceed. So the first main big change is you have to segregate the waste into 4 streams. Earlier it was only 3. Now we need to have 4 streams. So we need to have 4 buckets, 4 bins, wet, dry, sanitary, and special care waste. Okay. Store them in suitable containers. Okay. For specifically for the sanitary words, this word is expressly provided in the rule. It says securely wrapped used sanitary waste as instructed. So if you look at any sanitary product, typically they give an instruction on how to contain it, wrap it, and things like that. So we are supposed to follow that, and then segregate that. Okay, so that is very important. So one is segregation. Second is using suitable containers. Then securing sanitary waste in particular. The next is the handing over the segregated waste only to authorized personnel. It could be authorized waste pickers, collectors, or designated collection vehicles. This is very, very important. Okay. Probably most of us are already doing it, but it is expressly provided in the rule, and the rule specifies that you have to do it separately, store it, and even the secondary storage is defined in the act. Okay, so this is the main thing. Okay, and specific to the construction and demolition waste, the rule 5.1D has specified that it should follow the updated 2025 construction and waste demolition management. So it gives the parallel, so that's what this rule is. Then this is another new task, serial number 3, Rule 51K. Waste generators identified as an occupier under the biomedical waste rule shall ensure that the biomedical waste cover under those rules is not mixed with the solid waste. So that's where the thing comes. Okay. So you have to segregate that. Okay. The solid waste segregation is different from the biomedical waste. Okay. If you are an occupier under that, so you have to do it separately, not mix it with that, because there will be, returns and record keeping of those, and that's a different process and that's a different compliance. That's why this is expressly a new rule introduced in this 2026 solid waste management rules. Okay. Another new is which is a natural consequence is every bulk waste generator talks about registration, because this rule has expressly precisely defined a bulk waste generator, so it mandates a registration. This is a typical registration. Okay. And earlier change, the rule 6 also talks about the bulk waste generator's responsibility for collection and handing over of the fourth stream waste segregated. Okay. So it specifically tells for both waste generators, common waste generators, and bulk waste generators. Okay. And these are some of the new tasks. So the bulk waste generators are fulfill extended bulk waste generator responsibility. Okay. Here it talks about processing of wet waste, sound management of dry sanitary and special cast waste as per the norms, and shall prove the certificate. So this is very, very important. This is a new task. Okay. Again, this is a new task which is binding, that when it dealing with this waste management, we may engage third party, others. We have to ensure that we do not engage anybody that does not have a registration as mandated under waste management rules. So only recognized registered entities we have to deal with them. We have to engage with them. Okay. This is a new task and expressly provided under this rule. So you can imagine the kind of the entire life cycle, closing the gaps which we mentioned at the start. What this new rule is attempting to do. This is where you see one of the link. And this is the digitized annual return. This is a new task for the bulk waste. So for any task for bulk waste will be pretty much new task, because uh, the definition of bulk waste generator is included in these rules only. Okay. It is June 30th, the annual, and earlier for the waste generators and all, I think it was 30th April, I believe. That has changed. Okay, so this is all. These are some more new tasks which have emanating from these 2026 rules. Okay. This is about the precaution taken during transportation, the rule 6K. Okay. And similarly, 6 L talks about a special case of development, infrastructure, construction, those things. Mhm. This rule 6M is what we saw, that mixing up of biomedical waste and with the solid waste, not mixing. If you are if you're identified as an occupier under the biomedical waste. Okay. Uh, so this is where another linkage is there. And these tasks are for operator of waste processing. So they have included new task. It talks about registration. It talks about the return, quarterly return. This is a new task, like yeah, highlighted earlier. Some annual returns are made into quarterly returns. This is for operators, just to get a flavor of. Okay. Again, more for the operators. Mhm. So here also the rule 70, you can see that there is a linkage again that during the processing, the waste or the other thing generator should be authorized only to authorized waste collectors, handed over to authorized. So this is another new task. Okay. And unless you are an operator, I think these tasks won't be of interest to you. Similar, so similarly, serial number 19, this is for the concessionaire. I mentioned that the landfill and other uh, you know, bulk processing or storage and disposal facilities need not be carried out only by the local body, even though uh, they are made responsible, they can outsource it. That's where the concessionaire comes. Okay. And the rule 11.1, there is a change. So this talks about the industries which uses solid fuel. Um, uh, so they are mandated to use refuse derived fuel, meaning these are the fuel derived from combustible waste, solid waste. Okay. So they are mandated to use these types of fuel, those units which use solid fuel. Solid fuel basically means a fuel in a solid form like coal, wood, those things. Okay. And this is the last set. Okay. So this is emphasizing again that they shall register with the concerned state pollution control. Okay, person who are using refuse derived fuel. The if you are interested, curious why so much is being said about this refuse derived fuel, basically two things. One is the solid fuel, the kind of pollution it creates is at a different level, and the pollutants uh, and the environmental degradation happens is from both the use as well as the source, because if you want, if you're using coal, you're mining it, or if you're using wood, you're, we are cutting down the trees. Okay, that's one. And the second thing is these solid wastes, they have some combustibility. I mean, they can be used. See, one of the ways to dispose them is to burn them, the burn. So why can't we use that as a fuel, instead of just allowing it to burn? So from that point, and also it's like recycling, so to speak. That's why they have given so much importance, and new tasks have been derived. Okay, so that's where it talks about registration. Then 11.2 talks about annual return. Okay, so that's the importance given, and that is the because we have to responsibly use the waste and dispose the waste. That's the reason. Okay. And finally, just for completeness sake, this slide in terms of what do you expect when there is a non-compliance, there are various possible what do I say, enforcement reaction or or the penalties, what to expect. One is, of course, the fine, which may go into lakhs of rupees. Second is an important thing people have not warmed up, and it is very important is people are getting affected when there is an environmental issue, breakdown, um, both to the property as well as the human beings. So then there is this tort law and tortious liability would come into picture. So most of the, if not all, environmental incidences and breakdown of the system will lead to this tort, yes, liability. So anybody who is affected can sue. So this is a very evolving field as far as India is concerned, and but it is quite mature in other countries. Okay? And other legal consequences, it it goes all the way up to the stoppage of the factories or the entities or industrial units or anything, because the erstwhile CRPC, Criminal Procedure Code, section 133, and the current BNSS, which replaced the earlier CRPC section 152, pretty much mimics the same. It empowers the magistrates, who are not judicial officers, they are executives, like your collector, district magistrate, or the tahsildars or DROs. They are empowered under this particular section, which was basically reinforced in this famous landmark case law of Municipal Council Ratnam versus Sri Vadichan in 1980. That this particular criminal provision, can be uh, invoked by the district magistrate. So you don't have to wait, wouldn't go to the court. Even district magistrate can, cause the nuisance creating units, entities to be closed. Okay. So this is pretty serious thing. And finally, as answered, this environmental compensation based on the polluter-pays principle, which is made expressly part of the new 2026 rule. Okay. So with this, I come to the end, and I think it's almost 3:50. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention. We will take your questions now. Over to you, Shreya.
Thank you, sir. It was a very nice session. So we have few questions, and I would request others also to post your questions in the Q&A section. Meanwhile, to start with the first question, so this person is asked three, out of which the first one is, if we have a storing facility or a warehouse of 3 lakh square feet, but the waste generation is very less, say 20 kg per day, paper or cardboard, would it fall under BWG category?
So simple, straight answer based on what you have provided is an yes, because you said it's in some lakh square area, but
3
the
lakh
threshold
square
is
feet.
20,000 square meters. Okay, not square feet, square meters. Okay. So if your facility is more than that, see the concept, I'll just take a minute to explain the rationale behind having an area as a criteria for waste generation. The reason is more the area. So a lot of other utilities, and like for example, take the case of bulb. If you have 1,000 by 1,000 square meter or something like that, you'll be using certain number of tube lights and bulbs. If you're having more, you'll use more. So like that is a special care waste. So even though you may be generating less, this is for the threshold. So threshold, these three are three independent variables. See, if you are a very intense waste generator, even within 1,000 square meter, you may be generating a lot of waste. So that's where the kilogram come into picture. So you see, these are three independent variables. So that's why they have included this, and this is a very, it went various round, and I think they to cover the entire various industrial activities and commercial activities. That's where they have evolved this, and uh, so you have to look at the three conditions. So I would say yes. Okay. Next question.
Next question is also from the same person. If we have six accounts in the same facility of 50,000 square feet and customer is managing its own waste via authorized vendor, in that case, are we on liable to register as BWG on government portal?
No, no, I think
Sorry.
it's not clear to me all the conditions. See, as far as registration is concerned, so we said we have to find out the nature of your business and if how what kind of whether it is really comes under the solid waste management or you're doing something else, because there are hazardous waste is different, e-waste is different, so we need to have a real detail. But however, for the registration of the bulk waste generator from the solid waste management rule perspective, the thumb rule is if you fall under the definition of the bulk waste, you have to get a registration in the central court. There is no uh, getting away with that. So anything more detailed, I think we can take it offline and all because it will involve the nuances of all the details and all. So to make it simple, if you are a bulk waste generator falling into the definition, you have to register.
Okay.
Next question.
Uh, Actually, the questions which are there, they're big and very technical. So this one is, we have a facility to manufacture PVC and CPVC pipe, in which two types of process rejections generating. Reusable in our product itself, and second is non-reusable in our product. But sale authorized recycler to use in different product. So will the reusable rejections come under BWG and non-usable under 100 kg per day? Is it a part of BWG?
So, like I said, if I understand your question completely, so these waste definitions are exclusive. So, whatever the plastic waste which comes under the definition of plastic waste management, you don't have to redo it in this. In your case, you are into plastic waste, plastic industry, right? So only that you can take. But if there are other components, non-plastic, other solid, then only this comes into picture. Okay. So you have to be very clear on not mixing these different waste. So in your case, from the limited information you have given, I would reckon that it should be plastic waste because that's what you are doing, right? But as part of the plastic waste, as manufacturing or whatever you're doing, if you are generating other ways, like for example, you are packaging the plastic in a certain way, you're using other materials for packaging, or when you're buying the raw material, you have wastes of the containers and things like that, then it's a different scenario. Then the solid waste comes into picture.
Okay, he's mentioned that other waste also generating during the process, like wooden pallets, plastic bags, and used oil, which is less than 100 kg. So will it be a part of BWG?
No, no, no. If no. See, those those waste which will be considered a solid waste, but to consider your entity as a bulk waste generator, since you are saying it is less than 100 kg, What about the other two criteria? What is your floor area? Then how many liters of water you are using per day? So you have to see it's an or A or B or C. Even if you satisfy one of the three conditions, then you are called a bulk waste generator. It's not that you have to satisfy all the three. Even satisfying one condition, you will get into the definition. Okay. So you have to understand how much water you are using, and what is the floor size. So next
Okay,
question.
the next questions. We are registered under Shop and Establishment Act and operate as an IT based company. As we do not generate significant waste, we would like to understand the applicable waste management rule under the Act. Kindly provide the relevant guidance.
Yeah, this looks like a consultation kind of question. This is what we do in Aparajitha.
We can address it
We
over
need,
the mail, sir.
yeah, so we need to understand fully. So the purpose of this webinar is to give a overview and some details of what to expect and what are the compliance requirement and what are the different scenarios. But specific task, compliance task. So those we need to take it offline, and it would be like a proper, consultation types engagement. Okay. Uh,
I'll
so,
take the
but
next
you can safely
question.
assume that this rule is applicable to you. Okay. So that you can safely assume. See, even you are in a IT industry, you can assume. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Next question.
So I'll take the next question. He says that we are a large scale industry and we manage our horticultural waste internally through natural composting. Should we start measuring the generation of horticultural waste to include in annual return under SMW?
Uh, Even with this limited amount of information, I would definitely say yes, because if during the discussion there is something called biodegradable waste, right? The wet waste, organic, biodegradable. These were the two terms, the wet waste. So definitely, as a industry processing horticultural product, material, you come under the wet waste category. So definitely, you have to do it. Yeah. Next question.
Okay. Our organization generates approximately 500 kg of wood waste per day, which is handed over to an authorized vendor on daily basis. We categorized under BWG.
Yep, 500, more than 100.
Okay.
See what the spirit of compliance is what is important. It's like you are already doing an authorized. This is going to just formalize your working now. So you have been doing it, whatever you do. Now it will be formalized. Formally you register and then you submit the return that is so and so authorized entities is what you are dealing with, so that the entire life cycle of the waste is taken care. Yeah. Next question.
It is being mentioned by BWG, bulk waste generator, to register themselves with concerned local body through the centralized online portal. So, what is the online portal? Is it to be CPCB portal or SPCB portal?
Yeah. So there is a little bit of clarity is needed for this. I think the central government has not fully developed this particular portal for solid waste management submission yet. Okay, because this earlier registration continues. Even though the earlier law rule is superseded, already people who are registered. It continues. So there is still little clarity is missing whether CPCB is going to come up with a new portal, which is what I guess, but it is not up and running as of today. I just checked in the morning even. But there are portals in the state pollution control board portals. Specific states have portals for solid waste. So that's where the registration is going to be done as of now. That's what I reckon. Okay. The central, we have to wait for certain notification, I believe, as far as the registration of the central portal is concerned.
Okay. I'll take the next question. Will industry uh, waste generated during the production process will come under the definition of solid waste? For example, in spinning cotton waste during various stages and the garment factory, fabric cutting waste, etc.
Uh, so, uh, uh, so for the specific example you have cited, so that does not fall into any of the other waste category like plastic waste, e-waste, battery waste, biomedical waste, construction demolition waste, that falls into solid waste uh, definition. This is number one. Number two is if it falls if under any of those rules will click in. So you have to be very clear. Okay. So the first part of the question we can't answer without you the telling the second part. Since you have told that it is cotton and things like that. So definitely the answer is a yes. That's why I basically told at the start that everybody this rule will apply to everybody.
Okay. So the last
What
question,
Uh, yeah, sorry.
sorry.
So as far as the applicability at the rule level is concerned, it will be applicable to everybody. But as far as what task prescribed under the rule you have to do, that depends on your own situation. Whether you are a bulk waste generator or waste generator, whether you are doing this or that details, that concept. Out of the 54 different tasks, complaints tasks specified on the rule, what are the task level applicability that requires the detailed study of your processes, activity, amount of waste generated, type of waste, what are you doing? Those things will, whatever may be the case, the two things you have to do. I can tell by default. One is the four stream segregation. You have to do, whoever it is. Number two, you have to handle process, whether you are giving it, disposing, deal with only authorized person. These two tasks everybody has to do. Out of the 54, these two tasks are given. Default, I would say. I did not know any information about your organization. I will tell that these two you have to definitely comply with. Okay. Okay, maybe we can take one more question.
Yeah, we'll go for the last question. And I will ask everyone that you all can drop in the message in the chat box. We'll be addressing your questions over mail also. So the last question is, how are waste like thermocol and foam categorized under this rule?
Solid waste. They are the most
Yeah.
dangerous of all. They are solid waste. Uh, they don't come under any other category. The easiest way to understand is if it is not a plastic waste, if it is not a biomedical waste, if it is not a e-waste, if it is not a battery waste, if it is not a construction demolition waste, it will be solid waste. Doesn't matter from the source of the material. See, for example, thermocol you mentioned now. Even plastic and thermocol are derived from crude oil. So that doesn't make that they may be similar, but these are categorized separately. And one thing about the law is whatever may be the definition which we follow in the industry or the standards or day-to-day parlance, if the act defines a particular word in that act or the rule defines, then you have to take only that definition. Only that definition you have to take as far as that particular rule is concerned. Like we have seen, right? The word handling is defined, the word processing is defined, crop processing is defined, even sorting. Sorting, we know, everybody knows what sorting is. Even that is defined. Even segregation is defined, so many other definitions are there.
Okay. So thank you, sir. Thank you for such a clear and insightful session. It was very much learning for us to understand what are the new applicabilities and changes that have come under solid waste management, and also how you told us about the waste aggregations, what are the different four types and how it happens. So thank you for that. And this insight has been very helpful. And I'm sure that there would be many questions, and we would love to have those answered. You all can drop us a mail, or what we will do is I'll just type in the email address, and you all can drop in a mail to us if you all have any questions regarding the same. Also, thank you
Okay.
for the participating, all of you. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Shreya. Thank you all for the nice questions and your participation and continued support. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.